Imagine a pope whose actions shocked the world, a leader who pushed the boundaries of morality and scandalized the church. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Moments in History, where we delve into captivating stories from the past. In this video, we will be exploring the intriguing topic of the unspeakable things Pope John VII did during his reign. Have you ever wondered what it would be like if a pope crossed all limits? Let's find out. In the annals of history, there are figures whose actions stand out as extraordinary, even scandalous. Pope John VII, whose reign spanned from 955 to 964, is one such figure. His tenure as the head of the Catholic Church was marked by a series of shocking and controversial events that reverberated throughout the world. Today, we dive into the depths of history to explore the unspeakable things Pope John VII did during his reign. During this tumultuous era, the papacy was no stranger to political intrigue and power struggles. Pope John VII, however, took things to a whole new level. His actions not only challenged the moral fabric of the church, but also brought into question the very essence as his role of the Vicar of Christ. With a taste for luxury and indulgence, Pope John VII transformed the Lateran Palace into a den of debauchery. The papal residence, once a symbol of piety and devotion, became a hotbed of scandal and immorality. As we delve deeper into Pope John VII's controversial reign, let us now examine in detail the 5 unspeakable things he did during his time as Pope. Immorality and sexual misconduct. Pope John VII's reign was marked by scandalous immorality and sexual misconduct, as he shamelessly engaged in a web of extramarital affairs and maintained a harem within the Lateran Palace. His actions transformed the papal residency into a den of debauchery, flagrantly defying the sacred vows of celibacy expected of a pontiff. These shocking behaviors not only disillusioned the faithful, but also tarnished the moral authority of the Catholic Church itself. The repercussions extended beyond mere personal indiscretions, casting a dark shadow over the very institution of the papacy. The office that once symbolized divine authority was now stained by the scandalous acts of its occupant. Pope John VII's promiscuity and debauchery became the subject of widespread tales, causing significant damage to the Church's image and leaving many questioning the authenticity of its teachings. The consequences of his actions reverberated throughout Europe, triggering a crisis of faith and raising profound doubts about the ability of such a leader to genuinely represent the foundational principles of Christianity. Pope John VII's immoral conduct flagrantly betrayed the trust bestowed upon him by the faithful, forever leaving an indelible mark on the perception of the papacy and its leaders. Corruption and simony. Pope John VII's reign was marred by the insidious practices of corruption and simony, which tarnished the integrity of the Church. He shamelessly succumbed to the allure of wealth and power, accepting bribes and financial rewards in exchange for granting influential positions within the Church hierarchy. This brazen display of corruption undermined the meritocracy that should have governed such appointments and eroded the trust and faith of the faithful. Simony's consequences were far-reaching, staining the Church as a beacon of righteousness with the greed and manipulation of its leaders. The elevation of individuals based on wealth instead of devotion and qualifications further eroded the moral fabric of the institution. Simony's prevalence fostered an environment of favoritism, disrupting unity and causing discontent among the clergy and faithful. Pope John VII's actions not only damaged the reputation of the papacy, but also compromised the Church's ability to fulfill its sacred mission. The faithful, seeking spiritual guidance and moral exemplification, were left disillusioned and disheartened. Pope John VII's legacy stands as a cautionary tale, reminding us of the importance of upholding justice, integrity, and accountability within religious institutions. Nepotism and favoritism. Nepotism and favoritism marred Pope John VII's reign as he shamelessly appointed his lover, mistresses, and family members to influential positions within the Church. This blatant display of favoritism undermined the principles of meritocracy and fairness that should have guided such appointments. Pope John VII's nepotistic tendencies not only caused resentment and discontent among the clergy, but also eroded the trust and respect of the faithful. The Church, which should have been a beacon of equality and justice, became tainted by the perception of preferential treatment and unfair advantages bestowed upon the Pope's inner circle. This concentration of power and authority in the hands of a select few further undermined the unity and cohesion of the Church, dividing the clergy and sowing seeds of discord. Pope John VII's indulgence in nepotism and favoritism not only betrayed the principles of fairness and impartiality, but also undermined the Church's mission to serve as a moral compass for its followers. It served as a stark reminder that personal interests and familial alliances should never supersede the greater good and the pursuit of spiritual truth. The impact of Pope John VII's nepotism and favoritism would have long-lasting consequences, shaping the perception of the papacy and its leaders for generations to come. It stands as a cautionary tale, highlighting the importance of transparency, fairness, and the avoidance of personal biases in the exercise of leadership within the Church. Abuse of power and political intrigues. Pope John VII's reign was characterized by an alarming abuse of power and a web of political intrigues that extended far beyond the confines of the Vatican. He leveraged his position as the head of the Church to advance his personal and political interests, disregarding the sacred responsibilities entrusted to him. One of the most notable examples of Pope John VII's abuse of power was his manipulation of political alliances and conflicts to strengthen his own position. He engaged in backroom dealings, forming alliances with powerful secular rulers to secure his own authority and influence. This maneuvering often came at the expense of the Church's mission and the welfare of its followers. Pope John VII's political intrigues went hand in hand with a disregard for the sanctity of human life. He resorted to violence and coercion to suppress opposition and eliminate perceived threats to his power. Dissenting voices within the Church were silenced through intimidation and, in some cases, even assassination. The abuses of power and political machinations tainted the image of the papacy and called into question its commitment to the teachings of Christ. The legacy of Pope John VII's abuse of power serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked authority and the importance of leadership grounded in humility, integrity, and a genuine commitment to the well-being of the faithful. It is a cautionary tale that highlights the need for transparency, accountability, and ethical conduct within the highest echelons of religious institutions. Neglect of spiritual duties. Pope John VII's reign was characterized by a neglect of his spiritual duties, as he prioritized personal indulgences and worldly pursuits over the spiritual welfare of the Church and its followers. This abandonment of his sacred responsibilities had far-reaching consequences. One of the most glaring aspects of Pope John VII's neglect was his lack of devotion to prayer and religious rituals.